Welcome to Keto Meals and Recipes.com. Today I'm making a copycat keto Oreo cookie, which I'm sure will surprise you how close these taste to the original store-bought cookie. I will make both the white vanilla cream center and the green mint version. The macronutrient ratio is amazing. It's 5.1 to 1 with 3.2 grams of total carbs and only 1.9 grams of net carbs per fabulous cookie. There are two basic parts to this recipe. First we make the cookie dough and then we make the cream filling. Let's start preparing the cookie dough. Using a large mixing bowl, place a fine mesh sieve on top, and into the sieve put your almond flour, coconut flour, Dutch processed cocoa powder, salt, the baking powder that is gluten-free and corn-free, your sweetener, and glucomannan. Use a whisk to stir as you sift the dry ingredients. This will create a very fine lump-free mix. After sifting the ingredients, set aside for the moment. Into the stand mixer bowl, add and combine the room temperature butter and the sweetener and begin whipping slowly. Then increase the speed to medium and whip until your butter mixture is pale yellow and fluffy. But as you're whipping, don't forget to occasionally stop and scrape the sides and bottom of the bowl to incorporate all the sweetener and butter. Add your vanilla. Next, reduce the speed to low and add one egg at a time, whipping continuously to incorporate the egg. Then add your second egg and whip until the egg and butter mixture are combined. Don't worry if the egg and butter mixture look a bit grainy or curdly. This is normal at this stage. Now that the egg and butter are combined, keep whipping at low speed and add 1 heaping spoonful of sifted cocoa mix at a time. Allow for a few seconds of mixing before adding the next spoonful. Repeat until you have added all the cocoa mix. When you have finished adding the cocoa mix, stop and scrape the bowl. Then increase the mixer speed to medium and beat for a couple more minutes. Your Oreo cookie dough is now done. I will now demonstrate 3 different ways to make your cookies. The first method I call the chilled log method. For all 3 methods, I would strongly recommend you use a silicone baking mat because I found that parchment paper was very slippery and using the mat was so much easier as it did not slip around. Place a long strip of cling wrap onto your silicone mat. Spoon the dough onto one end of the cling wrap. With your hands, shape the dough into a rough cylinder shape that is about the size you want the cookies to be. Then wrap the dough and roll it with your hands to form a uniform thickness and to smooth out the shape. Then wrap the roll in the silicone mat you are using. Gently squeeze to compress the dough some more. This will get rid of any air pockets inside the dough, and then roll to shape the log again and refrigerate the roll for 1 to 2 hours. As with the technique for sugar cookies, you want the dough to be a bit hard so it's easier to cut. When your dough has chilled, use a very sharp knife which you dip into ice water to cut each cookie. Cut the log into 6 centimeter or 1/4 inch thick cookies. Between every cut or every other cut, clean your knife blade and dip it into the ice water. This will make cutting each cookie easier. With this method, you will have to work quickly because the dough will soften and become hard to work with. A tip I would like to suggest is to cut the log into thirds. Use 1/3 at a time while you keep the rest in the refrigerator until you're ready to cut that piece. Now for method 2, the cookie cutout method. Place the cookie dough directly onto the silicone mat. Cover the dough with a strip of parchment paper. And then, with your rolling pin, apply a bit of gentle pressure. Roll in all directions to create a uniform thickness of about 6 millimeters or 1/4 inch thick. If your edges become thinner, don't use that part for your cookie cutouts. You want all the cookies to be the same thickness. This is important for baking time and they'll also look much better. Once your dough has been rolled out, to cut out the cookies, and since I didn't have a cookie cutter that was the right size, I looked around my house and I found that the long-stemmed wine glass or my shot glass were both the right diameter. So I used the glass to do my cookie cutouts. This worked really well. To ensure that I could easily separate the cookie cutouts from the scrap dough, I rotated the glass a bit. One thing about this dough, regardless of which method you use, you'll find that it's very soft and sticky, so it's best to place your silicone mat onto a flat cookie sheet and refrigerate for 1 hour. When the dough has stiffened, then use your offset spatula and carefully remove the dough around the cutouts. This process is much easier when the dough is chilled. Also, the leftover dough can be re-rolled and cut out into more cookies. For both method 1 and 2, place the cookie shapes onto a parchment-lined cookie sheet. Now for the third method, which I call the dough ball and press method. Because I want a consistent look to my cookies, I made a cookie template. To do this, I used a piece of cardboard. I drew the circles as shown using the same wine glass as in method 2. And then I placed this template at one end of the silicone mat. To ensure my cookies were all the same size, I used my kitchen scale to weigh each ball. Then I placed the ball into the center of the templates. When I filled all the spaces on my template, and using the bottom of my smallest measuring cup, I gently pressed the dough ball until it flattened and filled the inside of the template circle. For this method, you simply slide the mat, cookies and all, onto your baking sheet. You should preheat your oven to 175 degrees Celsius or 350 degrees Fahrenheit. These are the 3 techniques that I use to make cookies, and you can choose whichever one you feel most comfortable with. To bake the cookies, place your cookie sheet into the middle section of your oven and bake the cookies for about 15 to 20 minutes. How you can tell if your cookies are done: bake until the edges are slightly darker than the center and when they smell really good. And that's how you'll know the cookies are done. Your cookies will still be soft when you take them out of the oven, so just slide your parchment or silicone mat onto a wire rack. It's really important that the cookies are thoroughly cooled and have had enough time to harden. When the cookies are properly cooled, they will be hard and have a proper snap. Now finally for step 2, the making of the Oreo cream filling. Into a clean mixing bowl, add the room temperature palm shortening and the room temperature butter. Whip at high speed for about 5 minutes. Next, add your sweetener. Whip at low speed until the confectionery sweetener is completely blended into the butter and palm base. I am making 2 flavors, so I put half of the cream into a plastic baggie, and then I added the vanilla to this first batch. Stir well to combine the vanilla, and then squish the cream into one corner. Then twist the bag to form a seal. To make the green Oreo mint filling, I first added the mint extract. I also added the green food color gel until I had the color that I wanted. Now place the green mint cream into either a piping bag or a second small plastic baggie as shown. When you're ready to assemble the cookies, simply cut the tip of the baggie to create a small opening. Take one cookie and squeeze out the cream into the center until about half the surface is covered. Place the second cookie on top of the cream and press in the center so that the cream spreads out to the edges. Don't assemble all your cookies at one time unless you plan to use them right away. Since these cookies do not have any stabilizer or preservative, these cookies will get a bit soft because the butter and palm shortening will seep into the cookie if you leave them on too long. You can store your unused cookies in a container that allows for airflow, and the cream filling can be stored in the refrigerator. Both the cookies and the cream will keep for 3 to 4 days. That is, if you can resist them for that long. Enjoy. You can find the printable recipe in the description below. I love reading your comments, so please let me know your thoughts, or press the like button to let me know you like this recipe. If you're new to this channel, please consider subscribing. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. See you next time.